G'day there guys, Connor here from Marky Industries coming at you with some more stories from Reddit. I hope you're all having a fantastic day so far. Anyway, let's get right to the video. Okie dokie, we're on relationship advice. This one was written by user Yumi Rainey and it's titled, Future mother-in-law called me stupid and now I'm considering calling off the wedding. How do I approach the situation? I, 23 female, am engaged to John, 24. We are together for 5 years. We want to get married in July 2025. I always thought that his family liked me because we get along well. He has 2 older brothers, 26 and 29, both married. Honestly, I was very excited to have them all as my in-laws. They were always kind to me. Some kind of important information. About a year ago, when I was scrolling on Instagram, I saw a profile that was kind of cringy, but in a cute way. It was an older woman's profile who shared inspirational quotes. I remember one particular post, and it was something in the lines of, "Only stupid people pretend to know everything. Don't pretend, just ask." Honestly, this quote changed me in a lot of ways. Before that, I was always worried that I might embarrass myself if I don't know something, and after reading that quote, I realized that if I always pretend that I know everything, then I'll miss out on actually getting to learn about new things. So I decided to change my habits and start admitting that sometimes I genuinely don't know. Someone is talking about the war in Kosovo? Okay, sure, but first let me ask some questions so I can really understand what they're talking about. And I ask a lot of questions sometimes. I sometimes even open the Notes app and write in some questions that I later want to find answers to. These are my latest. 1. How does the time work in the black hole? 2. Why do some snails have shells and others don't? 3. What food is okay for ducks? 4. How does the light bulb work? The old ones with the gas inside them. And 5. Does everyone see colours the same? And how can we know that? Sorry for the long introduction, but it was kind of necessary for understanding what kind of person I am. I know that sometimes I might come across as annoying. Now onto the problem. His parents hosted a small barbecue last weekend only for the family, so it was the mum, 54, dad, 59, and the brothers, and their wives, 27, 27. I was the last person who showed up because I had to work late. I entered the house, and when I was walking towards the back of the house into the backyard, I heard John's mum talking about me. To be honest, she wasn't talking about me, more like mocking me. I heard her say in a high-pitched voice, "How does the sun work? Where should I put the fork? Why does nobody like me? How do I wipe my ass?" I just stood there. I had this sinking feeling. I couldn't move, so I just stood there, and I heard them all laughing. One of the wives said, "I actually don't mind her always asking questions. I think it's cute." And it made me feel hopeful that they'll say something like, "Yeah, sure, we're just playing. We love that." But none of them did. Instead, the mum replied, "It's not cute. She's just stupid." After that, they laughed again. I heard John laughing. My heart kind of broke in that moment because he didn't even say one positive thing. He didn't defend me. He just laughed. I quietly turned around and left the house. I texted John that I got sick and have to stay home. Now I'm wondering, how should I approach the situation? We live together and I sleep in the guest bedroom for now, and I use the excuse that I don't want him to get sick from being around me. I can't ignore him forever, and I can't pretend to be sick anymore because it's been too long. I'm not sure how do I proceed. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. I'm considering talking to them about this, but I'm also worried that they won't be honest with me. I can't marry him if he really thinks I'm stupid, but I also can't marry into a family who thinks so little of me. But maybe it was a joke and I shouldn't take it so seriously. I'm so torn apart, and every day I convince myself a bit more that it's okay, and sometimes we should all laugh about ourselves. Now I feel like I'm just going crazy. I would really appreciate some advice. Edit. There are many comments saying that they cannot stand people like me. I agree that sometimes I can be a bit too much with the questions, but with that being said, I still think I'm within reason. I don't do it around people I just met. I rarely do it at parties or other gatherings. I usually do it with people who are close to me, who I think wouldn't judge me, or with people who specifically have knowledge about something and are willing to share it. If I'm part of a conversation, I'm not rude and I'm not interrupting. I usually just ask 1 or 2 questions. If a discussion is about the climate change, I'm not asking about monkeys, if you know what I'm saying. I'm also not a complete idiot. I don't ask questions which generally would be considered dumb to other people. Those I just write in notes and check answers later on the internet. I'm capable of reading, so I make good use of it, but after all, I still do ask questions a lot. Yeah, that could be grating, but I can totally understand where Opie's coming from. It's better to actually know than to feign knowledge. Let's go to the comments. They were laughing at you behind your back. If he says anything along the lines of, "That is how they are, get over it, it's not a big deal, you're too sensitive," or anything that excuses their behaviour, then he is really asking you to accept it. He's asking you to give your permission for it to continue, and your silence is your permission for it to continue. If they can't say it to your face, that tells you a world of information about the kind of people they are. If you want to see how things really are, confront them about this and see what happens. Their reactions will tell you everything you need to know about all of them, and will be helpful in making such a big decision. It will show you how they deal with conflict, which would be a good indication of what you'll be getting yourself into should you marry this guy. They will be a part of your life for as long as they are alive. You need to know if you can tolerate being a part of his family. To answer some of your questions, peas are good for ducks. They really love frozen ones, and it's fun watching them gobble them up. Black holes are weird. To an outside observer, time appears to slow down and eventually stop at the event horizon. What happens beyond that is speculation. I don't think we have the physics to explain it yet. But to someone near the black hole, time would seem to pass normally because they too are slowing down. There's a half-decent explanation here. It has a lot of math, but you can skim those bits and still understand the gist of it, I think. Seeing colours is something philosophers and psychologists have been arguing for ages and will probably never really know. Barring disability, we all detect the same range of wavelengths, and societally we have agreed on basic divisions of those wavelengths to different colours along the spectrum. People arguing whether a certain colour is more blue or green probably stems from where exactly they each placed those divisions when they were learning colours, more than something in their eyes being different. But whether we're actually seeing the same wavelengths the same way, like if I hopped into your head using your eyes and brain, would the world look the same to me? There's no real way to know that. Snails. The short answer is evolution. Probably a type of snail with shells split off from slugs and diversified from there, while the ones without just kept going on and adapting to their environment in different ways, like how some dinosaurs developed wings and became birds, and the rest didn't, and then died from an asteroid for the most part. Edit. I was wrong about this one. Thanks to one user for the assist. Terrestrial slugs actually evolved from terrestrial snails, which evolved from aquatic snails. Simply put, shells helped sweetwater snails to move on land by protecting them from dehydration. We know that the evolution from land snail to land slug actually took place 12 separate times. Slugs have tiny internal remnants of shells, and there's even some in-between snails with small shells that don't fit their whole body. Light bulbs depends. Are you talking like the halogen light bulbs that still have a filament but the bulb is filled with halogen gas, or neon and fluorescent ones where there's just gas, no filament? Light bulb lesson ahead, guys, feel free to skip ahead. Halogen. Basically the same as any filament bulb. Electricity goes through, the filament is much thinner than the copper wires bringing the peer to it, so the electricity sort of backs up. It can't pass through the filament as easily, but more is still flowing all the time. So instead of all that energy just flowing through the wire filament, some of it is converted to heat energy, making the filament heat up until it glows red hot. Unfortunately, what also happens is that with all this heat, some of the tungsten from the filament evaporates, technically sublimates since it's going from a solid straight to a gas, and deposits on the inside of the light bulb. That's why old light bulbs tend to look like they have darker glass. Eventually, enough of the tungsten is evaporated that the filament gets too fragile and breaks. In a halogen light bulb, they put a little bit of halogen gas in the bulb, which causes a chemical reaction to occur. The tungsten evaporates, reacts with the gas to produce a new chemical that then reacts with the hot filament, depositing the tungsten back to where it belongs, and allowing the gas molecules to return to their original form. This makes them last longer, and because the filaments are made more durable, they can operate at a higher temperature, which means they put out more light. Neon and fluorescent bulbs are just gas with an electrode at each end and a mix of gases in the tube between. Electricity flows to one of the electrodes, and since it has nowhere to go, the energy reacts with the gas molecules. They get excited and produce a glow, but in glowing lose the electron they had picked up. But that electron is picked up by another gas molecule, etc., until the whole thing is glowing. Different mixes of gas produce different colors. At the far end, the other electrode picks up dropped electrons, which flow through it as electricity again, completing the loop. I think there might be a few differences between neon, fluorescent and like sodium lamps that are usually used for floodlights and the like, but the basic mechanics are the same as far as I know. Hope that helped. And also, your possible future family are jerks. Intellectual curiosity is awesome, as long as you aren't like constantly interrupting conversations to ask questions and disrupting the flow of someone else's story or something like that. You're fine. They're jerks. If you are interrupting a lot, maybe work on keeping the questions for later, when there's a natural break in the discussion, or approaching someone who mentioned a thing you might want to know more about afterwards to ask if they can either help you or point you to good resources where you can learn for yourself. Whew, that comment was a bit of a science lesson. Let's read some more about the actual story. Tell John what you heard. Tell him all of the things you heard. His reaction hurt you the most. Tell him you cannot believe how cruel his mother was, and his laughter and failure to stand up for you was like a knife in the heart. Then ask him, why should I marry you? Someone who is comfortable laughing at me when they think I can't hear them. You know I ask questions to better understand something. The smartest person in the room is the person who knows they don't know everything and is not afraid to ask. When I heard everyone, all I could hear was ignorance, unkindness, a lack of grace, and no love whatsoever. How very graceful of you and your family to mock someone. Frankly, I'd call off the wedding. I'm sorry you experienced that. I'm sorry his mum is a terrible person. I'm sorry you're hurting. But you're not overreacting and you're not oversensitive. Those were mean things to say. Mocking is not okay. Not only that, but she's been lying to your face this whole time and acting kind and accepting when she's cruel and hateful. The rest of them co-signed her cruelty with their passiveness and laughter. Don't marry into that family. But here is some advice. Find your voice. Stand up for yourself. Learn to handle conflict head on. Avoidance will bring you nothing but pain and suffering. Work on yourself before your next relationship. Become the you who would confront your fiancé immediately when you got home. Become the person who doesn't lie and say they are sick to avoid confrontation or sleep in the guest room to avoid showing your hurt. Have the confrontation. Show the hurt. Expect to be treated with kindness and honesty. Invite that by being kind to yourself and being honest with others about how you feel. Do all of that and your next relationship will be much healthier. This one would have ended in heartbreak and divorce eventually. Leave and feel good about it. Yeah, hard to disagree with those comments there. Let's go to an update. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to people who reached out to answer my questions about black holes, snails, ducks, light bulbs and other stuff. I would love to have you as my friends. For the other people who said I should just shut up, I don't really care if you find me annoying or hard to be around. I'm okay with that. I don't exist to please everyone. I'm just here for a good time, have my own interests and learn. I didn't expect my post to gain so much attention, but I'm so grateful for the advice. Most of you told me to break up with him and at the very least confront him, so that's what I decided to do. You gave me a push and confidence to do it. But before I did that, I texted the wife of John's brother, the one who said she liked me asking questions. I asked if we can meet up for coffee. She said sure. We met and I didn't see the point in pretending to her that I didn't hear their conversation. So after some small talk, I just said, I heard you all talking about me during the barbecue. She immediately got sad and said she feels embarrassed. She explained that it wasn't a joke, wasn't out of context, and that it was just mean and hurtful. She said she's sorry for not defending me more, but I said that it's okay and I understand. I told her that I don't blame her for anything and just wanted to make sure that I understand the situation and see it for what it really was. And it really was laughing about me behind my back, just bullying. At this point, I just had to confront John. In my last post, so many comments were saying that he'll probably try gaslighting me, and you were right. We were having dinner together for the first time since the barbecue happened, because before I tried my best to avoid him. Yes, I know, not very mature of me, but other than you guys, I don't really have a strong support system. My family and best friends are hundreds of kilometers away. I only have 2 good friends here. I was so stressed I thought I'm going to pass out. My legs were shaking and I was terrified because I knew deep down that this is the moment when my 5-year-old relationship goes down the drain. I looked him in the eyes and asked, "How does the sun work?" He looked confused, so I followed with, "Where should I put my fork? Why does nobody like me?" At this point, realization hit him and he started nervously laughing. I said I was there and I heard them. After the initial shock passed, he got mad. He said it's rude to eavesdrop. I said it's rude to bully people. He tried telling me that it was just a joke, that I shouldn't be so uptight, that it was really funny. I said that I didn't find it funny and went to the guest room to calm down. He started panicking. He was asking me to please talk to him. He was much more apologetic and said that he will be 100% honest with me. I asked if his mother made similar comments before the barbecue. He said yes. I asked him if he ever defended me. He said he tries to. I don't know if I believe him. He told me he loves me and respects me. I don't know if I believe it either. I said that I love him too, but I need a break. He's all I've ever known. He was my first and only partner. I have no outside perspective of this. I have no experience. I need a moment to think. I'll be going to my friend's house for a while to think everything through. The apartment has his name on the lease anyway. After I gathered some of my things and left, he kept texting me non-stop. He tried calling, but I didn't respond. I was very hurt because he tried to belittle my feelings, and only later when he realized that I might break up with him, started apologizing. The next day, I decided to give him another chance to explain himself, and I came back to the apartment. He seemed very sad and tired. He said that he told his mother that I overheard them. I said I don't care. It's his time to step up and show me that he cares. I'm not interested in an apology from his mother. I'm already done with her. I can't put up with this behavior and mocking me like we're in primary school. I saw a comment saying that probably her ego is hurting. I think it's true. She never got the chance or never had desire to have an education. She's a very good homemaker, but outside of that she doesn't have many interests of her own. If I'm asking her about making tomato soup, she'll be talking for 30 minutes lecturing me about adding enough sugar, but not too much. She'll lecture anyone who is willing to listen. But anytime someone is talking about something she's not familiar with, she gets defensive and tries to imply that nobody cares about that, and if it's not relevant to her, it shouldn't be discussed. Once again, he tried telling me that I should relax because it was only a joke, and at this point I had enough. I took off my ring and told him that his behavior is a joke and I can't be the punchline. I told him that I wish him and his family the best and to look in the mirror to check if they really are as superior as they think they are. I said I'm going to be back with my friend soon to pick up the rest of my stuff and to not contact me again unless it's about moving my things out. And that's it. I'm done. Thank you all for the advice. Without you, I wouldn't have the confidence to leave this man. I know I deserve better. I can't be with someone who can't stand up for me, and I wouldn't be able to feel comfortable around his family, so I'm done with the relationship. I hope they'll treat his next girlfriend better. Thank you again, Reddit, for advice. One comment says, keep on being curious, not judgmental, while linking the TV show Ted Lasso. Opie replies, same, I absolutely love that show. I watched it with my ex and it's funny that he didn't like Ted and thought that his character was not relatable and silly. To be honest, we all should have Ted's strength and positivity sometimes. And another comment says, Opie, your ex-mother-in-law can still go and get an education. Many have and there is still time. That's no excuse for what she did, and her saying that and acting like that shows how uneducated she is. Opie replies, I think so too. I believe it's never too late to start learning something new and continuing education. In my uni, there was an old lady in her 70s who recently graduated and everyone was just so proud of her. In my country, university is free, so the barrier of entry isn't as bad as in the US, for example. Yeah, and that's how it should be. But yeah, great ending there for OP, I think. She realised her worth and also realised she wasn't going to get it with this guy and his family. And OP's still so young, so she's got her whole life ahead of her. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that one. Let me know down in the comments. Alrighty, well, let's move on. Alrighty, we're over on Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Joanna Queen, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole forcing my husband to choose between divorce and being a house husband while I work full-time to support the family? Long story short, my husband, 37, used to work to support the family while I, 36, stayed home taking care of our 2-year-old daughter. Last month he lost his job and told me he felt exhausted and wasn't eager to do anything. I said okay and offered to work so he could look after our daughter at home and get some rest until he feels better. By the way, our daughter goes to daycare, so it's mainly some housework and picking her up. But he said no, He needs his time to be completely free. I got furious because this means either I work while also taking care of our daughter, or our family will face significant financial pressure. But I stepped back anyway and had a hell of a month doing everything while he hung out with his friends and played PS5. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and told him he had to choose between being a house husband or divorce. He chose the first, but it felt forced. I keep questioning myself. Was I too harsh? Any good advice would be appreciated. Let's look at the comments. Not the a-hole. Adults with children don't get to have their time completely free. Not the a-hole. You are very reasonable. Bluntly, you don't get to rest the way he is when you have a kid. You have to take care of said child. OP replies, you have a point. I didn't get any rest. Not at all. I had a similar situation with my wife. She was underemployed. She had some health issues and had to stop working. Now she does all the housework as her contribution, and I work full-time for mine. It works well. When she's too ill to do housework, I step in and do it. This doesn't happen too often. She doesn't owe me anything for this. It's just me contributing to our partnership and taking care of her. It's very reasonable to expect your partner to contribute. If they do not work outside the house, it's quite reasonable for them to take over the domestic labour to free up some time for you. Not the a-hole. He needs to be a partner. You aren't funding a vacation for him. Not the a-hole. Johnny doesn't get to relive being 13 on the back of his spouse's labour. Opie says, thank you. I wish I would have been able to tell him this. Not the a-hole. Giving him the month was super generous. Opie replies, he was the one who supported the family before. I thought I'd give him time to recover. I was wrong. Not the a-hole, but once you have a job and health insurance, insist he get therapy. It might be burnout or depression, but he needs to seek help. You can't enable him to sink into it. Opie replies, thank you, I didn't think of that, but he seemed really happy playing with his friends. Is it normal? The commenter replies, yes, when I get depressed I can still read, but I don't really want to do anything else. Video games, binge-watching shows, reading, food can all give us a dopamine hit that makes us feel normal. It is important to call out the behaviour and make sure he's attempting to get better. Part of it might be the ego hit from getting let go from his job. The important thing is to not let it go untreated or unremarked too long. Tell him adulting sucks, but we all have to do it. Okay guys, moving straight to the update. So, I got off work, picked up my daughter, and showed my husband the post after she fell asleep. I told him that millions had seen it and made various points. I admitted that my ultimatum was an impulsive reaction, and that I preferred having a calm discussion to work through this. He said he was surprised I shared family matters on Reddit, and that he wouldn't have done it. He said he wasn't feeling depressed, just tired and exhausted after years of working, and he just wanted to be childish for a bit and really enjoyed the month off. I kind of understood because we used to travel a lot before our daughter was born, and life has been harder since then. I told him I wouldn't force him to work and that he could take his time as long as he could pick up our daughter and do the housework. He hesitated but told me not to worry. I thought this was the end of it. Then, the next day, I came home from work to find his mother there. I was shocked because he hadn't told me anything. She started picking up our daughter and doing the housework. This is driving me crazy because I've never gotten along with her well, and my husband knows this. I feel like he asked her to come so he could continue being childish, disregarding how I feel. His mother raised him as a single mum, and according to my husband, she was very protective and planned to live with him for his whole life. He felt suffocated, so he went to a university far from home and reduced contact with her. I remember one time she came and got sick, vomited, and I cleaned up her mess. Suddenly she asked her son to come and told him that her underwear was dirty and needed to be washed by hand that very night, even though we had a washing machine. My husband and I had agreed that our marriage was ours and that she wouldn't come and live with us. He broke his promise. I'm considering divorce, but I'm worried our daughter is too young to understand it. I've thought about holding on for a while, but these days of living with her are already driving me crazy, and I don't see a quick end. I've thought about being an a-hole and forcing her to leave, but that might lead to divorce. I really need some advice. Thank you all. Wow, scumbag move. On to some more comments. So, you tell him he needs to pull his weight as an adult and his answer is to literally call his mummy to do the work for him? If he wants to be a child so badly, you really need to pack him up and send him back home with his mummy so she can baby him the way you will and should not. Not to mention that you're the breadwinner and can't stand this woman. Put your foot down and get both out of the house. You gave him an ultimatum. He woefully failed it. Now you need to follow through with the other half of it and bring out the consequences. Opie says, I know this could be the final solution. Thank you. Another comment adds, and if you stay, you'll teach your daughter to also choose a man who mistreats her. Imagine your daughter married to a man just like her dad with a mother-in-law just like yours, and then make your decision. Opie says, I would hate myself if this scenario really happens. You have a point. Thank you. What can you tell us about his mum? Doesn't she understand what you're going through given that she's a single mother? And why don't you get along with her? Any personal reasons? Opie replies, he and I have knew her mother would do anything to be with him, and he has chosen to go for it. This sucks. I don't want to fight with my mother-in-law constantly for having my husband. Okay folks, now we have a separate post written by the husband. I found out my wife posted about our situation on Reddit, so I thought I should share my side too. I lost my job in May and wanted some free time because life after having a baby feels suffocating. I've always been a free spirit, working and travelling, and then I met my wife, Jay. This lifestyle continued and we travelled a lot, from Tibet to Antarctica. I was a seller, and she had a great business selling replica bags, making enough for us to enjoy our lives. We hit it off, got married, and had a great time together. We even considered being child-free, and consulted an older couple on an Antarctic cruise, whose happiness convinced me this could be our future. The thing is, my mum really wanted a grandchild. At the time, I didn't think much of it and felt it wasn't a big deal, so I discussed it with my wife and we decided to go ahead. Her pregnancy was tough. She had severe morning sickness and I felt really sorry for her. After the baby was born, she wanted to focus on the baby and I agreed to hold the family burden alone. Life then became all about work, with no more travelling or other interesting stuff. So last month, I had enough. No more working, no more baby duties, and we agreed to give me a trial break. The past month was quite healing, until one day she got mad and suddenly gave me an ultimatum of divorce. I didn't want a divorce, so I started doing housework, which I wasn't prepared for. Then last week, my wife came home and asked me to talk, showing me her post about us in this sub. She said millions of people had read it and called me an immature a-hole. I was pretty upset and asked my mother to help with the housework so my wife would be relieved and, to be honest, to call her bluff. She's not happy, of course, and neither am I. We've barely talked since then, kind of a cold fight. These days, I've caught her several times watching her phone for a long time and sometimes crying. I believe she posted about us again, and I've been waiting for her to talk, even though I wanted to start the conversation, but got cold feet feeling the tension in the family. Writing this is easier. So here I am, Reddit. This is my first and last post about it. I just want to share my side of the story. And Jay, if you see this, I'm ready to talk anytime. Wow, we really are inside this family drama now, aren't we? But honestly, this guy sounds like such a man-child. Like, wow, you got hit with a bit of housework, so you had to call your mum to come and help you. Like, bro, grow up. If just doing a bit of housework meant I could stay at home and play video games all day while my wife supported me, God, I'd do it at the drop of a hat. This guy's clearly got a caring partner willing to do a lot for him, and he's taking it for granted. Let's read some comments on his post. You're the a-hole. Anyone else catching how he's trying to blame his mother for his decision to have a child? And I love how he calls abandoning his wife and child a trial break. Sorry, life doesn't work like a Netflix account. You can't just suspend it because you're a selfish adult that can't handle responsibility. Also, your lack of foresight is staggering. You thought you would still be able to travel after having a child. You thought your pretending reality doesn't exist wouldn't burn out your wife, who just gave birth to the point she wants a divorce, and you thought calling your mum to do your work wouldn't upset your wife who was looking for a partner on her level, not a man-child who uses their mum to escape accountability. I hope your wife finds this post as the final nail in the coffin to divorce you, and that she gets enough child support from you to ensure she gets the actual help she needs to raise the child. I particularly enjoyed the part where you were so upset when your wife called you immature, you called your mother. Very nice touch. You're the a-hole. I read your wife's post earlier today. After you stopped working, you both sat down and she agreed to you taking a month off. No housekeeping, no baby duties. She did all of that on top of working full time. At the end of that time, you're still not ready to go back to work, but she can't do it all and keep carrying that load, so she asks you to be a stay-at-home dad, kid goes to daycare, and take care of some of the household stuff. You say no. She's exhausted. Remember, she's carried your baby for 9 months and is now back at work full time, plus taking in all household and family responsibilities. I believe you are playing games online and hanging with your friends. Now you claim you brought your mum, whom you've both been very low contact with, into the home to do all the daycare and household chores, and you wonder why she's upset? Seriously? Get off your ass and step up to the plate. Being home and caring for a child plus household tasks is still work, but it's not deadlines and traffic jams. She's asking you to step up for her like she did for you. If you can't see that and still think she needs to learn a lesson, your marriage is over. If you came here thinking we'd back you like you did her, you are mistaken. You really need to go for a long walk and consider this from an emotionally mature perspective. You are so far off track, you're about to walk off a cliff and can't see it. Yeah, some hard truths for the husband there. Opie replies to the husband. I've been hesitating because we had a great time and I've been loving you. I didn't talk to you these days because I wanted to see if you would send your mother home and talk. I update now because, as you said in the post, I see you and want everyone, especially those who told me you might have been depressed, to see you. I can't believe you'd rather defend yourself on Reddit than talk to me face to face. If that's how it is, let's do this. New update. After my last post, I was in a weird state. I felt trapped in a limbo where talking to my husband seemed futile, but the thought of divorce felt like an invisible hand was squeezing my throat, making me hard to breathe. I decided to make an appointment with my psychologist, who has known my childhood and understands my background, including my adoption and family dynamics. Yes, I am adopted. Although my adoptive parents treated me very well, I generally don't like to talk about it. Before I had my child, I specifically consulted the psychologist because I was afraid that my unresolved issues might unconsciously affect my daughter. So, during our conversation, she pointed out that the child in me desperately longs for my biological parents, while the love for my adoptive parents makes me reject this idea. As a result, I'm obsessed with maintaining the ideal biological family that I never had. This insight resonated deeply, making me realize why I'd delayed taking decisive action for so long. After our session, I felt a strong urge to speak with an attorney about divorce. I wanted to prioritize my daughter's future over my illusory family unity. I gave the attorney all the necessary information and expressed my desire for a quick resolution. She informed me that the process could be completed in as little as a week if my husband agreed to cooperate, although it might take longer otherwise. She recommended that I discuss the matter with him to facilitate the process, so I've been planning in my mind to choose a day to confront him. During this period of hesitation, I came home one day to find that my mother-in-law had left. My husband had prepared dinner and apologized for his behavior. He admitted to being childish and expressed deep regret for his actions, acknowledging the negative feedback he received on Reddit. Realizing that so many people found his behavior unacceptable, he understood that he had been in the wrong. I reiterated that divorce might be the best option as I couldn't see a way forward together. In response, he handed me a letter taking full responsibility for the problems in our marriage and admitting his mistakes. He asked for one final chance to prove himself as a good husband and father, promising that if he failed, I could use the letter to proceed with the divorce at any time. After much hesitation, I agreed to give him this last chance and informed my attorney to hold off on the divorce proceedings for now. Although my attorney mentioned that the letter had no legal standing, she assured me she could handle the situation with or without it. For now, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm willing to see if my husband's efforts will lead to genuine change. If things don't improve, I'm prepared to take further steps to ensure my daughter grows up in a healthy and loving environment. I believe the decision is in my hands, and I'm now determined to do what's best for my family. I want to thank everyone for their comments. They helped me see many options. I especially appreciate those who shared their life experiences, providing me with the strength to take action. By the way, I'm back to my bag business. If anyone has any other issues or needs help with identification, feel free to DM me. I'll do my best to help, as I feel I owe Reddit for this. I hope this will be my last update. Okay guys, and that's the end of that story for now. Yeah, it's kind of funny how the husband came grovelling back after Reddit just ripped him apart. And for OP's sake, I do hope he does change, but I have a feeling this isn't going to be the last update here. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Alrighty, that's all for that one, and we'll move on to a different story. Okay, we're jumping over to Petty Revenge. This one was written by user CrowLexing, and it's titled Revenge Potato After Tracking Tag Found. My kid's mother, my ex, is a control freak. We have shared care, weak about arrangements. She demands to know her daughter's every movement, texts constantly, checking up on her and a load of other overbearing nonsense, one of the reasons I left her also. My daughter is now well into her teens and fed up with the control. The ex tries to track her via various apps on my daughter's phone, however my daughter is savvy enough to disable this when she wants. So we went camping for a week in the summer with my new partner and her kids. I told their ex exactly where we were camping and our planned travel route. My daughter had had enough of the control and texts and turned off her phone as we left for the trip. We had to detour a bit due to roadworks, and soon I got a text from their ex demanding to know where we were going and why our daughter wasn't responding. I was surprised she knew we were off track for a bit. Once we get to the camp, we go looking and sure enough find an AirTag hidden in my daughter's bag. Both myself and my daughter were pretty unimpressed and almost dumped it in the garbage. Instead, we decided to have some fun. We were camping in a small town with a post office. We bought a large potato on which my daughter drew an angry face, put the AirTag in the potato inside a sealed post bag and posted it to her mother. Over the next 6 days of camping, I received a series of increasingly agitated calls and texts from the ex about our whereabouts. She was freaking out as the tag travelled from our remote town, through another state, and slowly back to her address. A week goes by fast and we head home, drop the kids off to their mothers, and almost forgot about the package as it hadn't arrived apparently. A few days later, I get an excited call from my daughter, who was grounded. The post bag had turned up at least a couple of weeks after sending. The potato had gone bad and turned to a foul-smelling mush in the bag that, upon opening, had spilled onto the living room carpet, leaving a rotten mess with an AirTag in the middle. Even better, it was the ex who opened it. I wish I'd been there to see her face. Apparently, it was worth the grounding. The ex still tries to control and track my kids, but doesn't have much luck. You'd think the mum would get the message after that one. Wishful thinking, I guess. That kid's gonna go no contact in a few years and the mum will be wondering why. Okay, on to another story. Another petty revenge story, because why not? This one was written by user SteelToe1Z and it's titled High school hockey player who is the former owner of my phone number continues to give it out to high school girls. It's 2012 and I got a new phone and phone number, which goes okay for about a day. Apparently my phone number used to belong to a high school hockey player in the area who was also quite the ladies' man. It was a spicy text or two at first, and then butt dials from the kid's mum. Not only had he gotten rid of the number that I had just gotten, but literally everyone was still trying to contact him at his old number. And then I realised the kid was giving out his old number to girls he went to school with at the time. Like a lot of girls, ranging from 14 to 18. I was getting a random number of girls texting daily, some saying some fairly explicit stuff, and they wouldn't take no for an answer when I told them I'm not the guy, repeatedly. So, the hockey player is continuing to give out my number to girls he goes to school with, and apparently all of these girls know exactly who he is, and are very hot for him and so happy to get his number, and he's very definitely playing what seems like dozens of girls over a very short period of time. Screw this guy. One day I start getting texts and it's two completely new girls, numbers I haven't seen yet, but definitely talking like he's got them both all worked up for who the hell knows what. So I tell them to come over, tonight. Do I give them an address? No, just come over to my place, be there at 6 p.m. Where did they go? I have no idea. They both seem to know the address already though. I didn't hear from anyone after that. Haha, absolutely diabolical. I would have loved to have seen what happened when they both arrived at the house at the same time. I guess one can only speculate. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.